Alright, so a lot of you have been asking for this video, and I'm at about 800 miles, so I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable with the car, a little better feel for it, and I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit of an opinion. So maybe start with a couple of modifications I've already done to the car. So the first thing was a satin PPF. I didn't use XPEL. My local installer didn't like the product as much. So this is Lumar, and honestly I think it's a little bit darker than the XPEL cars I've seen, but so far so good. Still needs to get ceramic coated. We'll do that here in a couple weeks. Just didn't have time to get that done after I got the PPF installed. So I'm sitting at about 800 miles, and other things that I've done to the car, I put spacers and extended wheel lug nuts. So these puppies here, I'm running 12 millimeters in the front, 10 in the rear. I might step up to 20 to see if I can fit my Supra wheels, which have like some decent tires. And that would be cool, because then I could run that as my temporary track setup with these cars, with this car. Besides that, we got this smoked, which is a nice little touch. I added this for rock chips, and you can kind of see all the sort of rocks that have already hit it. This might be a little too far out, honestly, but it's okay for now. At least it doesn't rub. What else have I done? The carbon fiber side mirror, since I was getting that PPF'd. We tried to wrap this in carbon fiber PPF looks material. It's okay, I'll keep it for now, but I'll probably ultimately change that. And I did the valve exhaust mod, so it's a little bit louder on startup. Still need to do a couple things. I want to get my windows tinted before the summer starts. I also installed the front grill here, so you can see here, here, and here. And then lastly, you're not going to be able to see it. Well, let's try. The oil cooler guard on the bottom. Send me a DM if you're interested in that. So besides that, that's all I've done to it. So obviously not gone as hardcore as some of our other people, but plenty of time to enjoy the car and mod it out. So let's go for a quick drive, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on with the car. Oh yeah, there was one more modification I did to the car, and that is coating. So I was able to code some cool things. The biggest one that probably makes sense is deviated lights. So you can see normally on the car you can select a couple of colors. It's always the same on the bottom and on the top. And for whatever reason, red wasn't an option. I think magenta was the closest thing, it was a little more pink. But in Beamer code, you are able to select what you want for the bottom and for the top. So look up some tutorials for that. I was able to modify how much that mirror dips in reverse. I think usually it's at 90, so I set it to like 65 or 70, so it doesn't dip as far down. And I also coded the automatic headlights, which is kind of cool. Basically, if there's a car in front of you and you have the high beams on, it'll kind of shoot the lights towards the sides and it won't blind that car. If you've got a car incoming, it won't shoot that side and it'll shoot to the right. So pretty cool thing. I am a little concerned because they move a lot, and it's just one bulb basically. If there's going to be some long-term implications, but hopefully not. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, it's only when it's on high beam, so it's not all the time. All right, so let's start a cold start here, and I will tell you that even though the valves are fully opened, it still sounds louder in M2 in my opinion. I guess you want to see what my M2 looks like. It's basically everything in sport mode. That's what M2 shows. So Sport Plus, Sport, Sport. Yeah, that definitely makes it a little bit louder, so let's see if you can hear it. In my opinion, definitely louder. Maybe like 10 to 15% louder with the exhaust valves open, and it's also just deeper, so not necessarily louder, but it's just a deeper noise with the valves fully opened. So I would say that's the biggest other thing to note. How does this compare against the Supra? The most obvious thing is this is a much better daily driver. Technology is obviously one generation up, which is both good and bad. I do miss just having some of the climate control stuff here, but in reality it's not like I'm touching it that much. It's pretty much a set it and forget it. I just hate getting my fingerprints all over that, which is a little bit annoying. So for the most part I use a little toggle down here to change the settings when possible, or I even talk to the BMW lady here. I think it's called Hey BMW, which I don't have it activated. I just use the button to activate her. It's a little slow. I mean, we'll give you a little preview here. Turn AC on. We wait, we wait, we wait. Here we go.
Activate the air conditioning system.
Yeah, so definitely slow, but it's hands-free, whatever. You don't get your fingerprints all over this. Let's see, what else? What else can we show? I don't know. I do enjoy the size of this. It's pretty cool. I also enjoy this. Again, like everybody complains, M1, M2 should be tied to your M mode setup. It's kind of silly that they're independent, but you have to do this here and then also hit whatever mode presets you want for the engine, transmission, suspension settings there. It is what it is. Nitpicking, I suppose, at the end of the day. I don't mind this display. I wish it was more customizable, I guess, since it is digital, but it tells you what you need and what you want, and it's easy to read. So from that perspective, no big deal. No complaints. Gas mileage, definitely lower on this than the Supra. I drove this car about 400 miles back home from the delivery center. I got about 26 miles per gallon, which isn't terrible, going 80 miles an hour. And I would imagine, or if I recall correctly, in the Supra I'd probably get 30, 31, thereabouts. This car is definitely quieter on two fronts, so even before I opened the exhaust valves, this car is definitely quieter. Even with the exhaust valves open, I would say it's quieter. There's not a lot of burbles like in the Supra. Like the Supra, especially mine was a 2020, those are known for having very large burble from the exhaust, stock exhaust. That was definitely louder. I haven't got any huge pops and bangs like you would in that car. I would say this car is more refined. Let's call it that. It's more refined. It's a little bit more luxurious than the Supra. The Supra, I don't know if it's because of the hatch or mine was the first year, but it was a ton of creaking and rattling in the back area. The door cards with age started to creak and rattle, especially after more track days. And it wasn't loud. I think just me being kind of a anal person notices those things. I think this car has like one rattle in the passenger area that I haven't been able to fully get up. Yep, there it goes. And like it's got to be a deep vibration, but you know, sometimes I forget this is a sports car and it's gonna make some rattles. As much as I'd love it to just be a luxury car, it has stiff suspension, 20-inch wheels in the rear, low profile tires. Like, unfortunately, unless we want it to weigh like 5,000 pounds, yeah, there's going to be some squeaks and rattles. But I am trying to chase them down, playing around with stuff. I know the glove box is definitely making a little bit of a ruckus, so I added a little piece of foam, and that took care of that. But I still have some type of rattle over here. I thought I had figured it out. These pieces right here, they're pseudo metal looking thing. And when you take this out, literally, like, it's not even attached to anything. It's just pressure put on there. So I thought, hey, maybe that's what's been rattling. And maybe it was, but there's still some noise on that side. What else? So, yeah, so exhaust is definitely quieter than the Supra. The other thing that I would note, too, is insulation in this car at highway speeds is a little bit quieter than the Supra as well. And That's to be expected. I guess this car has a little more insulation, maybe a little better aero. I'm not sure on that front. What else can I tell you about this car? Both my Supra and this car have a little bit of a squeak, even though they're electric power steering. And I haven't noticed that in every Supra, and I haven't noticed that in every EPS BMW, so I don't know if I just have bad luck. It seems to be like a luck of the draw. You only hear like low speeds. Yeah, but I guess at this point I'm just gonna live with that little weird noise that they make. It's like a struggling motor, I guess, engine noise. Again, if I didn't know other cars didn't have that squeak, I wouldn't think anything of it, but I've driven other Supras that didn't have that noise. So, yeah. Bad luck on that front, I guess. I guess the biggest tell will be taking this car to a track. Ultimately, that's how I measure, you know, which car I'm going to like more. I can tell you that this car definitely feels heavier, but the brakes are a lot more confidence-inspiring in this car. The chassis is much easier to control at the limit, and that's what I gathered from the few laps I took at the BMW Performance Center. We were a really small group, and me and my dad were able to take a lot more laps, I think, than they usually. Literally to the point where, like, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I can only take so many super aggressive laps in a row before I'm getting a little tired. Especially because it was almost like an autocross circuit where it was pretty much going in one direction, very tight, off camber, and so it was literally like punishing just one side of your body repeatedly over and over and over again. I'll tell you, the car didn't seem to mind all the abuse, and it was pretty consistent, pretty neutral. Of course, we still had traction control on, so turn-in was good. Getting out of the hole, if you will, low speed. If you were incredibly smooth with your throttle application and your trajectory, it would definitely throttle you. But again, they wouldn't let us turn traction control off or anything like that. And but what I can tell you is the chassis definitely felt very stable, very easy to control, very confidence-inspiring. Whereas the Supra always gave you this little sensation like the front and the rear just weren't connected. The front wanted to do one thing, and the rear would have like a half-second delay, if you will. And it's fine. It makes it more interesting to drive it that way. It's a little scary at first, but eventually you gain a little more confidence into it. That car would love to wiggle its tail and then hook and go. This one just hooks and goes, at least for my limited time that I've pushed the car. And I think the other huge advantage this car will have too is that the 10-stage traction control, especially as you add more and more power, but also how this engine makes power too. I think because it's got the 2 turbos, it's a much smoother, broad power band, whereas the Supra would hit you with that very low-end torque, and so the habit of the car would be to try to break traction, especially in the low end, and then as they would reach the higher RPMs, they would almost like fall off. This engine feels a lot more naturally aspirated, if you will, whereas it just sort of builds power to red line. I personally like both. You know, the Supra gave you more of that like muscle car type of feel. This gives you more of that high revving, naturally aspirated, European, Japanese sensation, even though it is turbo. So yeah, I think both have a place. Probably for the track this is better, because I think that it's just easier to modulate your traction with the smoother broadband power band. And on the street, probably the low-end torque is going to feel faster. It's going to, you know, skid the tires at low RPM. It's going to give you that sensation, adrenaline, a little more. So that's something to think about. And of course, things can be tuned, but I'm just basing that on stock tunes as the way the cars are stock. My Supra was also stock tuned. I never tuned it, and I'm glad I didn't. Just enjoyed it the way it was, and you know, that keeps up reliability as well. So as of now, I don't have plans to tune the car. You know, number one, it's very expensive. Number two, I don't trust the piggyback type of stuff, especially with track use. As is with the Supra, I was already getting very close to max temperatures on track after a couple laps. So I think this car probably has a little better cooling than that car, but regardless, I think if you're going to track and you're going to be pulling extra power, you're going to get to the maximum capacity of the cooling system. And that's just not good for longevity, not good for reliability, and you're not going to have that much of an ultimately on track, because you're only going to be able to do a couple of laps at a time before you're going to have to take a cool down lap or bring it in. So something to keep in mind on that front as well. Other things to think about. Sound system's okay, definitely better than the Supra. Nothing mind-blowing, but pretty good. I did go with the automatic. I contemplated the manual. I spec'd out a red manual car initially, and what kind of put me over the edge was, well, that's 2000's manual. My to be determined E90 track builds manual, and you know, this car with an automatic transmission gives me the ability to one day, if I choose to, tune the ability to not have to modify the transmission, right? Because it can handle more torque and more horsepower than the manual without having to you know, go the clutch route or do anything else to it. So that's mainly the reason. I mean, and then of course, you know, BMW transmissions are okay, they're not bad. I don't know if rubbery is the term. I hear that one a lot the most, but you know, it's a linkage, I believe, on that car. It's not like the S2000, and that's the other problem too. Is like I'm always going to have the comparison between whatever transmission to the S2000 transmission, and it's always going to be a little bit of a letdown. I had a BRZ right before this car too as my daily driver, and that's supposed to be a pretty decent transmission, but when you would go back to back between the BRZ and the S2000, it was a no contest. I mean, the BRZ one is just a little bit longer, but it's just vague. It's just it doesn't feel that mechanical as it could. The S2000 one feels like a nice polished you know, assault rifle mechanism. I don't know how to describe that. It's just like metal on metal, very precise, click 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 type of feeling. Not that the BRZ one was rubbery or anything, or that there was a lot of insulation, but I don't know. The magic's in the details, right? That's basically what it is. The magic's in the details, and they got it right. The tuning there. I would be curious to drive a Supra. They say the manual Supra is very nice, but yeah, you know, I think between this car and that car, for the, let's call it $5,000 difference there is, assuming you get this at base price $63, $64, and you get the Supra, a premium Supra, for $58, $59, I think the $5,000 are well worth it in this car. If you think about the much bigger front brakes, if you think about the much more advanced traction control, if you think about the engine, the S58, and people don't talk about this too, but I'm pretty sure the limited slip on this car is much more advanced than in that car as well, and that all plays into the 10-stage traction control as well. And yeah, the only thing that sucks is the weight, but weight can be removed. Yeah, I don't think we can get to 3,300 pounds or 3,200 pounds that the Supra weighs, but you know, 3,400 is probably not out of the question if you're getting a lightweight exhaust. Strip out the interior, put some race seats. You're probably getting pretty close to get a low weight battery. I think there's definitely a lot of low hanging fruit to remove 200-300 pounds from the car. What else? What else can I tell you? So I haven't broken in mileage yet. I'm at just short of 800. Let's see, how many miles do I have? 780. I have 780 miles. So I've got 500 miles to go before I can start redlining this puppy. Yeah, I haven't redlined it. I'll be honest, I have not redlined it yet. I feel like, thank God I went to the PDC and I got some of that out of my system. Otherwise, I'd be very tempted. I have floored it all the way to like 4.5, maybe even 5,000 RPM, but I've not really taken it beyond that. And but I can't wait to. I mean, you know what? Fortunately, I don't have any track days or anything like that lined up. So the temptation, due to the time of the year, is at a limit, unfortunately. But in due time, I'm probably a couple weeks out from that point, and yeah, I think that'll be a really fun time. I'll finally be able to enjoy the car as is, and it's been a long time coming. So for those that don't know, I put my deposit down in May, and originally thought, hey, maybe I'll get a 23. I didn't get an allocation basically until the first week of August, and the car was supposed to go into production the first week of September. It didn't finish until the first week of October. Then it sat at the port for over a month, and I think it finally made it to Brunswick the week of Thanksgiving, and I finally took delivery at the Performance Center the 14th of December. So haven't had the car quite even a month yet, and a week since then also was spent at the place getting the PPF installed. So in reality, I've had it for 2 weeks, so I'm still definitely just beginning to own the car. You know, I have 780 miles, 400 plus of that was on the drive here, so really around town I've put 400 miles, one gas tank. And speaking of gas tank, holy shit, is it small. I think I was pretty empty and I put in like 11 gallons, so not a lot of fuel capacity for the car that gets I've been averaging probably about 22, 23 miles per gallon, babying it. So I think if I was to get on it again, much lower than the Supra. The Supra, babying it around town, 30 miles per gallon all day. But that's not the point of this car, so it is what it is. Speaking of brakes, because I just heard them, I have not gotten the crazy shutter some people have been reporting. I know there was a YouTuber that was complaining about that, and some people on the forums. Keep in mind, I'm pretty used to brake noise because my cars usually have crazy track brake pads and they dust and squeal like crazy. So I'm not too scared usually of crazy little noises like that. But because the car was at the port for a month, and even though they claim it was inside, I can tell you it probably was not, because there was a lot of surface oxidation on the rotors, on the top hats of the rotors, and as well as like anything that was aluminum underneath the suspension. So for example, like the fins on the diff, oh, you can kind of see there the automatic high beams. So they were shooting to the left there around the car in front of us. Yeah, so there was surface oxidation, which I imagine was from the salt environment the car was around. And I mean, again, it's brand new, so it came off very easily, not a big deal, but just a little disappointing, you know, when you first see your car, again, 800 miles, and you look at the rotors and they're already pretty rusty, like inside the drilled holes, they're already pretty rusty. Yeah. We'll see if there's any impact to that. Again, I haven't even given this car a hard braking yet, because you know, what's the point if you're not accelerating hard? Why are you braking hard? But that's generally my review here for the car right now. No real complaints, no real surprises. Jury's still out if this is the keeper for life, or this is what keeps me entertained for now. Is it all I can say is right now I'm pretty entertained, I'm pretty happy. I think it's a good bang for the buck. You know, it sounds crazy because it's 60, well, my MSRP was 69, a $69,000 car, but these days everything's $50,000, $60,000. Sad world we live in. And you know, I'll keep you guys updated and go from there. Let's see if you can see. So right now, automatic headlights are on, and let's see them change as cars come and go. So right now, yeah, everything's illuminated because I don't have a car in front of me. Very cool. And you can kind of just see how on the left side it's really not shining as bright as on the right side of the road because we have that oncoming traffic. Usually all this right here would be lit up, right? The median to my left. So it's doing a good job of just shooting. See right there, you can kind of see around the tree. It moves it to the right. So that's a pretty cool, neat feature. I definitely would recommend coding it. I will say it is a bit of a pain in the ass to code it because you have to go into all these different menus. It's not like a drop down on the Beamer code. I guess they haven't enabled it as an auto. So you have to go into expert mode and change a bunch of different settings and read German abbreviations that all sound very similar. And the other good thing is if you don't like it, you can either uncode it or you can just hit the automatic high beams off, and then you don't have to worry about it ever again. So you got two options on that front. But yeah, we'll keep chatting. I'll keep making videos. I've got a couple other videos to make. God, I hate this median right here. There's like no turning lane, and the cars behind you keep coming. It's great Florida city planning for you. Oh, and this guy's just taking his fucking sweet ass time. Alright, we're going for it, boys. This car definitely picks up a lot of rocks, so I would definitely invest in those little rock guards. Even before I got the PPF, so I put the blue painter's tape. And the only place where I really got damage on the drive from here to home, from the PDC to home, were 2 rock hits to the front cooler and a couple rock hits to the side skirts. I had blue tape on the side skirts, so no damage was done. The oil cooler got maybe there was actually three little hits. And so I just like fixed the little fins and whatnot. But that is why you put a mesh grill in there, because if that's what's happening in the first couple of 100 miles, imagine what it will look like after a